Hey guys, Anthony here. Quick video this morning. I want to read a report or a post from this lady on X. Her name's Adrienne. She posted regarding the power outage yesterday in Portugal and Spain. And she lists a few things in her post that I thought were important to read. And then I'll say a couple words on this because they have been telegraphing this for a long time, this cyber pandemic, this outages, whatever you want to call it. And so what I believe is happening around the world now is they're testing out the system, figuring out how people are going to react, etc. And so we here in the United States should be taking this very seriously because every day there's parts of the grid that are attacked, by rogue forces, if you will. At least they say they're rogue forces. And vulnerable systems like banking, water supply, electricity, all of that, when attacked, for a specific period of time. In other words, if it's down for a specific period of time, the danger box goes higher and higher. So I'll read what she put here, and then I'll say a couple closing remarks, and then you could do with it what you will. So she says here in her post, 9 hours of a national power outage in Portugal, and it felt like lockdown all over again. But here are 5 things I wouldn't have expected. Number 1, she says, telephone networks went down very quickly too, so there were no comms, so no communication. So think about that. We all carry the cell phones with us, obviously, but when those systems go down, how do you communicate with people? So think about that. Whether you're on foot, in your car, at your place of work when this happens, do you have an alternate way to communicate? Number 2, no working ATMs, so no cash. So those went down right away. So do you have or do you carry some extra cash with you? That would be something to think about. It doesn't have to be a tremendous amount of money. I would recommend small bills, maybe $100 worth, enough to get yourself something right away while stores may be still open, but have some cash on you. Number 3, major supermarkets were cash only. Okay, that goes hand in hand with number 2. Closed. Those that stayed open killed it. So in other words, many of the places that were usually open were closed. Some stayed open, but they only took cash. So again, think about what you carry on your person. I know a lot of people younger than me, the new people up and coming, don't carry a lot of cash. They rely on these apps, tap to pay, all these modern conveniences. But my generation and older are used to carrying at least some cash on us. So think about that. Number 4, trains were down, no phones, apps left people resorting to hitchhiking to get home. So people that have these apps on their phone, Uber and Lyft, etc., had no way of transportation. So hitchhiking to get home. Now, I don't know about you, but hitchhiking in today's age, not talking about the 60s and 70s, in today's age could get you killed or robbed or etc. You think about that. Let's see what she has for number 5 here. Incidentally, today's April 29th, 2025. It's Tuesday, and it's about 8:20 a.m. Eastern Time. Okay, number 5. Only a handful of petrol stations. Petrol is a a word they use for gas stations. Only a handful of petrol stations were working, so not just EVs would grind to a halt pretty quickly. So petrol stations went down. So you weren't able to just drive your car, get gas, and get back on the road. In fact, I saw pictures of gridlock, and she says here, people began stockpiling water. So you're talking, she mentions 9 hours here, okay? Keep that in mind. People began stockpiling water, 9 hours. Cars were initially gridlocked, and the police were on the streets. So I think we all saw pictures of the highways there gridlocked with cars down. There was a nervous energy in the air. Okay, so she sensed this nervous energy in the air during this crisis, this blackout, this power outage. But there was also a kind of excitement and then a calm, she says. People were playing on quiet streets with their kids and gathering with friends. We had a barbecue and found ourselves thinking of a Cards Against Humanity card. Is this how it ends? Not with a bang, but with a barbecue? Good to have the lights back on. So she talks about this kind of excitement, this calm. And yes, in the beginning stages of any type of grid down, I've been through it in recent years in Florida. When I lived in Florida, when a hurricane would come, we would button up the houses, hunker down before the storm hit. And then many times we would play board games, play catch football outside, have a barbecue, etc., which she's talking about here. I was also part of and was able to witness the great blackout of 1977 in New York City. During that 3 days of darkness, I was able to travel with my dad. He was working in the Bronx at the time, and he had a Italian bread route, like he would deliver Italian bread to stores. And so he had to at least try to attempt to go to work. So I went with him during that blackout. And this was 1977. Every store was looted. The iron gates or the roll-up doors that people put down in front of their stores were literally pulled off by vehicles, putting chains on them, pulling them off, breaking into the store, whether it was an auto parts store, a supermarket, an electronics store. And all you saw was people walking up and down the street with TVs on their heads and couches and chairs and looting and pillaging. And that was in 77. Could you imagine 3 days in New York City today of a total blackout? What would happen? How many people would die with all the changes that have happened in the city over the years, especially with the thousands of illegal migrants housed all over the cities? Could you imagine what would happen? And so this ended, at least for this lady, where she was, in 9 hours. And so things got back to normal, I'm assuming. But if this was a longer outage, if this outage stayed down for 24, 48, and going into 2-3 days, the bodies would have been piling up. People would have been going crazy, looting, raping, pillaging, killing, robbing. Resources would be used up. People don't have enough stockpiled. So think about that here in the United States. Do you have a bag that you carry with you, that you keep at your place of work, that you keep in your vehicle, that you have at home by the door, ready to go if you had to leave? We talk about these things in our prepping news or updates that we talk about, but a lot of people listen, and many people fail to do. They fail to do the actual work that it takes to be ready. They listen or they watch a lot of things, but they don't actually do and get ready themselves. You know, communication, she talked about, extra fuel, she mentioned, extra food, water, began stockpiling water, 9 hours, water. All of that should have wheels turning in your head on what I would do if this happened in my town. It doesn't have to be widespread or nationwide. All it has to do is affect you in your town for 24, 48, 72 hours, and there's going to be a whole lot of hurt coming down on you if you're not ready. Because many creatures come out of the woodwork after the first 24 hours. That's about all the window you're going to get. 24 hours, if that. In some areas of the city, just a few hours can start a process that can't be turned around. And the police are not going to be there to help you. The firemen are not going to be there to respond. You're not going to be able to call 911 on your phone. It's up to you to be prepared and ready. So I think this is a good wake-up call for people here in our country, because it's coming here. When and how long it's going to last, that's anyone's guess. But they've been telegraphing this for a long time. And with 2030, 5 years away, I would say right now we're in 2025, 2030. 2030 is their goal year. If you watch, every single thing they talk about is 2030. You have COP conference this November, I believe, or December in Brazil, where Prince Charles is going to be delivering his yearly message to the COP. I think it's COP 30, it's called, this year. Keep your eyes on that. They have plans to fundamentally change the world by 2030 and implement many of the things they're talking about, like smart cities, digital IDs, CBDCs, all these things that they're working towards now will be implemented in 2030. So think about that. What's going to transpire? Our window is closing on how and when to get ready. So take this report seriously. Look back at your own situation, what you have already planned and implemented, and build on it and implement more to be ready, and put a plan together with your loved ones, your family, your friends, your neighbors, whoever. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Stay ready. Anthony signing off.